Welcome to the RRP Comic Book Club. This is Big Papa coming to you for part two of A Death in the Family. Also coming back to you is the RRP co-host Victor Mendez, Jr.
What up?
and Gabriel Feliciano.
What up, though?
I know Gabe's been part of our other podcast, so he's been kind of on double duty here, kind of like what me and Vic's been doing for the last couple of months. The RRP Comic Book Club and the Rhyme and Reasoning regular podcast. So last month we read Batman: A Death in the Family by Jim Starlin, Mary Wolfman, Jim Aparo, and George Perez, which
Nice.
we got into last month. It was I guess it was one of the writers kind of came in the middle, and then is that what it was, Victor? I can't remember correctly. And they switched to illustrators or something. I remember it was something on the last podcast.
No, you're thinking about the Kree Scroll War. Remember,
okay.
they changed artists like midway.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Well,
Sorry.
Death in the Family was a really good graphic novel that we read, and obviously it's the death of Robin. But there was a part two to it, and and so we took it upon ourselves to make it a part two of this podcast. And that second part is called A Lonely Place Dying. Is that correct, Rick?
Yep.
And the Lonely Place of Dying is different comics put together. I don't know what the correct terminology is there for that, but I'm gonna let Vic take over and kind of explain it a little bit before we get into the whole storyline.
All right. Ready?
Yep, go for it.
All right. So we're picking up A Lonely Place of Dying, which is about 10 issues after. It's about 10 issues after Jason Todd's death. So this is already 1988, 87, 86, somewhere around
like
there.
a year to date or something like that too, right? Almost.
Yeah, it's like a year to date. And I don't know. Yeah, we all have the same copy. So in the middle of the graphic novel that collects these two stories, there's a little foreword by I think Marv Wolfman, and he talks about what it was like because he was at the forefront of reinventing the character of Robin twice.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say that, it's because in 1983 he was writing the New Titans with George Perez, who was his longtime collaborator over at DC. Together, they worked on Crisis on Infinite Earths, the first ever real big event that DC ever did, and they're most remembered for their time on the New Titans. In this foreword, he talks about how he was approached to make a new Robin. They wanted to age up Robin and put him on the Titans, and he was already on the Titans, but they wanted to age up the members of the Titans already. So they were thinking about just like making a new Robin altogether. But he was like, no, let me use Dick Grayson. I can make him a little bit better than he was. And they bumped his age up to 18, and they got rid of the puns and they made him more like smart. And I've read that New Titans run, and Dick in that is a lot more mature than all the other Titans are or ever were. If you read the Titans from the 60s, they're very much kids and they're throwing puns back and forth. They read a lot like early Spider-Man. He's just, they're just throwing puns over and over. But then, years later, he's still writing the New Titans. And while he was gone from the character, while he was using Dick on the New Titans, Batman needed a new Robin. So then that's when they invented Jason Todd. And then I think Jason was only Robin for like 2 years in real publication life. And then he died. So then DC came back and they asked Marv Wolfman, hey, can you make a new Robin? And he goes, okay, the third one? Yeah, bet I can do it. So he makes the third one. And it was really only like a year later after Jason had died. And I think in this forward, he basically sums it up by saying that the fans wanted Batman back. They realized the mistake they made by voting for Jason to die. And they wanted their old Batman back. They wanted the Batman that had a levity to him and, had his sidekick. and wasn't a brooding asshole, as some people would say. Because the Batman that we see picking up in issue 440, which we're going to jump into now, is a more brutal Batman. When we jump into the lonely place of dying, we see that Batman is fighting a villain. And one thing that I want to point out about 80s Batman villains is that a lot of the time they are always wearing some sort of like BDSM like gear.
I was gonna
Like,
point that out. Like,
yeah,
why has he got the gimp mask on? Or
yeah. I kid you not. Around this time, there was a story where they introduced the KG Beast for the first time, and KG Beast and all the other villains that are in that story, they're all wearing these kind of like gimp masks. They have chains on. They're like they're like leather daddies. It's very funny to see that like DC had a very clear portrayal of what they wanted a villain to look like in like their Batman books.
Mhm.
You know, whatever was seen as like a bad thing back in the 80s, they're gonna put it as what Batman is beating up this month.
Right.
So as we start going through this, one thing I noticed on the forward is that how Tim Drake got his name.
Oh yeah, you want to share that?
Yeah, the Batman, the '89 version of Batman was coming out and made by Tim Burton, and so they named him Tim.
Oh yeah, I remember
Yeah.
reading that. That's cool.
But okay, so as we get through these, this next portion of the Lonely Place of Dying, it hits on was it 3 different or 2 different storylines, 3 different comics, right? So
2 different comics, New Titans and then Batman.
And Batman. So they kind of go back and forth. So the first one we're gonna hit is Batman 440. 440. And it's titled Lonely Place of Dying. And it says part 1 of 5. And I don't see the art there.
It's right there on that first page. It's co-writers are Mark Wolfman and George Perez, and then the artist is Jim Aparo, who actually had been drawing Batman since they killed Jason Todd. So if you guys want to like flip back to that, see how his art progressed. It's I think his pencils got a lot tighter. If you look between A Lonely Place of Dying and A Death in the Family. In the A Death of the Family section of this graphic novel, his pencils are very broader, and his shadows are very not. They're not very prominent, and that probably has to do with the fact that they're in the Middle East in in that story. So there's not a lot of shadows that they can play with. But we're back in Gotham, and Jim Aparo is back again.
You got his regular pencil sharpener up. Okay.
Yeah. So
I don't know.
What you say?
I said you can notice on the shadows just a little more intense.
Mm-hmm. So we pick up with Batman fighting just basically some nameless villain. His name is the Ravager, and there's always been a Ravager. There's always going to be a Ravager. The mantle changes from person to person. Whoever wants to put on the Gimp mask is the Ravager, basically. And we're seeing that someone is narrating what Batman is doing. And we're not sure who it is yet. But he's basically pointing out that Batman's getting sloppy. He's letting villains hit him harder than he's ever hit them before, just so that he can get closer and also deal like a finishing blow. In this instance, we see that Batman knocks one of his opponents out and basically leaves him for dead, essentially. Batman knows that this person's not dead, but the person who's watching Batman doesn't know that Batman knows that. So we see Batman leave the fight, doesn't even call Gordon, it looks like. He just beats up this guy and leaves him. And he's also limping away and gets in the Batmobile. And we see that the person who's watching Batman pull out a camera. And he knows he knows that Batman is Bruce Wayne, and he thinks it to himself. As a reader, you're like, who's this? Who's this person that knows who Batman is, and also knows who Dick Grayson is? So we continue onwards, and we're seeing, basically, I'm just gonna say it's Harvey Dent, who's having a moment of crisis. He's listening to the radio, and I think what's cool about this story is that we see a lot of you guys remember in The Dark Knight Returns, we didn't really get to see a lot of Harvey thought like bubbles. We didn't get to see a lot of Harvey talking. Actually, we only get to see Harvey talk in The Dark Knight Returns when they're doing that press conference when they're releasing him from Arkham, and he's basically like, I'm reformed. I think that's what Frank Miller, like, that's the only speech bubble that he actually gives him. And he's like, I'm reformed. I can be normal and be put back into society. But we're seeing that the way that Harvey's two-faced like persona talks to him is through the radio. And
which makes sense at the end to me.
okay, cool. We'll get back to that. We're seeing that the radio's telling him that he needs to get rid of the Batman, essentially, which is always a calling to action for every villain in Gotham. I need to get rid of the Batman. We pick up back at Wayne Manor where Alfred is tending to Bruce Wayne, and he thinks about it for a second. He goes, he looks so tired. He has been so tired since Jason passed away. Again, this is a year later, and I don't know how long it's been in the universe. It's probably been a few months, because sliding time scale, things aren't always the same as publication years. And we pick up when the news people and like just people in general don't know that Robin's dead. They just think that he's retired, or maybe he's not around anymore. And one thing that I want to ask you guys is, do you think the people of Gotham know that there were two Robins, or do they think that this kid's been the same?
No, I think they probably thought it was the same one because I mean, imagine be like, if they found out there was two Robins, it'd be like, what's this guy doing to these kids, man? Like, putting them in harm's way and
Yeah.
whatnot. Like definitely would be bad for a public image also.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And
I kind of think they just it's kind of they were spoiled by Batman and Robin that they really didn't pay attention to details.
yeah, they didn't question it at all because they're kind of like a legendary figure. Like, you don't really think of Santa Claus aging, do you?
Right.
So again, it's Alfred, and he's thinking about all the change that Bruce is going through, and he even says that he seemed happier with Dick. Now I guess it's like he just doesn't care, but I want him to care again. I want him to be Batman. I want him to remember. And as I'm reading this, I think I'm realizing that it's not Alfred Stop Bubbles. It's probably Tim. Anyway, Batman wakes up and he has a conversation with Alfred, and basically Alfred's like, dude, you need to give it a break. Like, either like learn how to dodge some more, or maybe hang up the cape for a bit and let yourself heal. Batman's like, nope, can't do it, not gonna do it. Alfred gives it to him for real, and he goes, look, dude, since Jason's death, your attention to detail has been passive. You're letting things happen to you. And Bruce says, well, after all that, Alfred's like going deep into him, like, you need to survive. Like, I buried both your parents. I'm not going to bury you. I buried Jason. Like, I'm not going to bury you. You need to get your head out of your ass and get fighting and like get smarter. And Bruce doesn't acknowledge this. He doesn't even answer.
And just to point out too, I feel that the way Bruce and Batman is, it's kind of what prior to him dying, how Jason Todd was, like kind of just going for it and not
Reckless.
really, yeah, basically. And I think that was a little nod that they kind of put also, like,
Yeah,
maybe consciously also doing it,
he adopts like the mannerism of Jason before
Yeah.
he died.
A quick note is Batman's always been my favorite superhero. But as we read through these, I kind of understand why a little bit, but it's like he's always grumpy.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah,
always grumpy. I mean, I don't know how Alfred puts up with this guy. Like, literally, be like, you know what? You don't pay me
like his
enough for this
son.
shit. Yeah, you don't pay
Yeah.
me enough for this shit. You grumpy. You never smile. You always yelling at these kids. I mean,
Well, it's like in the Dark Knight. Remember, he tells him in Dark Knight Returns, I think he tells him, you know, I've loved you from the moment I heard your cries echo through the halls of Wayne Manor. So you know, their longtime relationship is doing a lot of heavy lifting here.
Hmm.
Because if Alfred had met Bruce as an adult, there's no way he would have like stayed
Right.
around this long.
yeah,
And it's I think before this also like in the stories, Alfred didn't do as much as
Mm-mm.
he's obviously doing, like, going above and beyond, like caretaking, and even like kind of like doing what Dick Grayson used to do also when um he was Robin and whatnot. So you could tell there's, aside from caring, but there's just a little frustration in Alfred also, like.
Oh yeah. He's like, fuck this guy sometimes. We see that after ignoring Alfred, he just gets back into the suit, shaves his beard, and gets in the Batmobile, gets ready to go. Um, we pick up with let's see. I think Batman is following this dude who's like he's a teamster, right?
just what I got out of it.
Yeah, it looks like.
Yeah. Go back to your nice wife. Da, 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 da.
Honestly, I forgot. As I got to the end of this book, I kind of forgot about that whole little part there.
Yeah, I don't think it really matters much because it's just Harvey talking to this dude, isn't it?
Yeah,
Well, I think he's a mob boss or something like that. That's what I
Ah,
think
yeah.
it is. And like, if I don't remember, I think this is where he's like trying to recruit some goons, or I
Oh, yeah.
think.
He's trying to get them to do like a distraction for him,
Yep.
like one of his two crimes, which is something that I wanted to bring up.
talked about that at the end a lot, right?
Yeah. So there's this part where he's listening to the radio and he's listening for these headlines of things that are happening around Gotham. And one of them is sale for 12 hours only, 40% off all men's and women's clothing. Then he changes it. Now I don't mind 40% off women's clothes, but men keep your pants on. And then he changes it. Scree, let's not congratulate ourselves yet, pal. We've still got work to do. Bats to kill. And that's you know his subconscious talking to him, his heart, the Harvey Dent, the Two Face talking to him.
Hmm.
And then down to Art Stapler Clovier's 246 8th Street. Take the elevator to the second floor, which is important because whenever all of Harvey's plans and all of his heists have to do with two,
Hmm.
you know, second, double, you know, stuff like that.
There's always
Um,
the number two, or like two of everything, representing the gangster, Two Face, and Harvey Dent, kind
mhm.
of.
So he's listening and he breaks the radio and he ends that little farce for us as readers where we're like, okay, well, who's talking to Harvey? But no, it's just Harvey talking to Harvey. And we pick up with the Titans and someone's watching the Titans. I think at this point the Titans are living in New York. When I was reading the Titans, they were living in San Francisco. But it seems at this point, I think the Judas contract had already happened because Jericho's on the team.
Hmm.
But anyway, he's watching Troy Olive, who is Donna Troy, Changeling, Beast Boy, and Starfire, and then finally Cyborg and Jericho. And 20 minutes have gone by, and Dick Grayson hasn't left, but it's okay because he knows where Dick's and Starfire's apartment is. So he goes to just knock on the door. Very risky. Uh,
And
no, he
prior
doesn't
to
go.
that, he's actually like kind of like peeping Tomish on her.
Yeah, he's watching Starfire heat up a TV dinner because Dick's not around. There's no one to cook Earth foods. Starfire doesn't know how to cook Earth foods. We move on to let's see. Oh yeah, word hit the street last night. Something going on at Zwei Brothers, two brothers, and Zwei is two in German. So he's been sitting here since 11, waiting, thinking. Time slowly passing below him. Each minute vibrates, shocking him out of his reverie, reminding him of his solitude. And I think what's really fun about seeing Batman without a Robin is how deep in his thoughts he's getting,
Mhm.
and how invested he is on his stakeouts, and like I think Alfred had a point, and I think Bruce sees that, and he's thinking a little bit more as he goes forward. He's giving things a little extra thought. Again, we didn't read the 10 issues prior to this, but we get the sense that that's how this Batman was living his life for a while. And even then, so Harvey set up this heist, and these criminals don't really know what they're stealing. Like when they get in there, they're like, "Oh, we're stealing books. Like who reads anymore?" Batman goes, "You should." They say, "Who said?" And then they look up the Batman. They said the boss. The boss said he'd show, just like he did for the Ravager. But we're ready. And they pull out basically Mac 11s, and they start firing on this dude. Batman drops some boxes on them, some books, and I think that's pretty much the end of the fight. He knocks him out. He starts realizing that he's also being reckless. He thinks about it for a bit. He gets confirmation that the Two-Face is back, so he's ready. He's getting ready. He meets up with Gordon, and Gordon tells him, like, we've issued an APB in the tri-state area for Harvey Dent. I've canceled leaves, put extra men on duty, and doubled shifts, which is exactly what Harvey probably wanted. Not that I expect it will do any good. Just once I wish he'd say goodbye. I hate talking to myself. Batman left.
But before that, I just want to point out too, like
Mhm.
the scene before with Two Face in the radio, like you notice he smashes it and stuff like that, and then here on like page 168, it's like back together. So it makes me wonder though, like was that like in his mind that he did that? Like,
It- there's
you know,
there's there's two things, and I think they're equally funny. It's either he
yeah,
bought a whole new one, or when he smashed the other one, it wasn't real, and he was just in his head
yeah.
about it.
You can have more than one radio, Gabe.
Yeah, I mean that too. Yeah, I mean he probably did have two, knowing Two Face, but I just thought it was
Oh, that
funny
would,
to point out.
yeah, he probably does have two.
Yeah.
So anyway, after Batman meets with Gordon, we pick up back at Starfire's apartment, and the mysterious person rings the doorbell, and Corey answers. She answers pretty cavalier. Corey Andrews, Starfire, you're one of the Titans. I'd like to ask you something. She goes, "I'm sorry, but I really can't." And this dude goes straight to the point. He goes, "I'm looking for Dick," and then cuts himself off. "Now I'm looking for Nightwing. I've got to find him. It's urgent." Starfire's like, "Nightwing, I don't know who that is," pretending like she's not an alien.
With green
And
eyes.
people don't know that she like is with Dick Grayson. Anyway, she tells the person that Dick is gone, and he's like been gone for several weeks now. But if you need our help, the Titans will be happy to help. And basically, the person's like, "Nah, I don't need you guys. See you guys later." Um, let's see. He goes to Dick Grayson's old apartment which I think is insane. So Tim was at Titans Tower, which is a place where the Titans can live, although it seemed like a lot of them don't. Then went to Corey's apartment, which is where Dick lives also with Corey, and then left Corey's apartment to Dick's old apartment, meaning that Dick has 3 places that he kind of lives. And if you count Wayne Manor, that's 4. This dude has a lot of places to live.
Yeah.
You just popped a mystery too.
What?
You said that Tim went to these places.
Oh,
we didn't
my
know. We didn't know that yet.
It's all right. In the next page, we see basically the first appearance of Tim Drake, but it's his back with a backpack. While at Dick Grayson's apartment, he finds out that he pieces it together that Dick, by reading a newspaper, that the Haley Circus is closing, which is a circus that Dick Grayson performed at before his parents died. And so, the person looking for Dick pieces it together that that's where he's going to be. So then we pick up with New Titans number 60. And we're 30 minutes in, so I think we should just breeze through some of this because I don't know what the hell the Titans are going through at this time, other than that they're involved in the story because Dick Grayson's a member of their team and not in the Batman books at this point. So Starfire, and we pick up with Starfire and Cyborg, and I think they're looking for Nightwing, and they kind of decide to themselves like, okay, well, we can't get a hold of Dick Grayson. Do we call his dad? Like, do we call his dad and ask if he knows where he is? And they're like, yeah, let's call Wayne Manor. They call Wayne Manor, and it's Alfred. And he picks up and he talks to Vic, Cyborg, and he's like, is Batman around? Can we talk to Batman? He's like, no, Bruce is gone. Something to do with Return of Harvey Dent, I believe. He's out there getting stabbed, beat up, not thinking. They're like, all right, that doesn't sound good. Donna's checking Dick's apartment, and there's nothing going on at Wayne Manor. His gym says he hasn't been there in a week. Man, I'm desperate. Maybe Donna's found something, anything. And they piece together. Hold on.
They're at the apartment. They find that album, the scrapbook.
Oh yeah, they find the scrapbook, and there's a page missing.
Yeah, the picture. The picture that.
Yeah, the picture that the person looking for Dick took.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Lonely Place is Dying, Chapter 2, Roots, and we pick up at the Haley Circus. And it's very nostalgic for Dick. He's going through, and he sees an elephant that he remembers. He starts washing it, and we get the idea that things are a lot more run down than Dick remembers. But also the idea gets thrown around that maybe the circus was always like this, especially when he was there as a kid, but he remembers it differently because he was a kid and he was with his parents, and it was a lot more fun for him back then. Now it all has that sort of like tint to it that's a little bit darker. He notices again that the elephant hasn't been washed in a while, so he takes the time to stop and wash her, and give her a good scrubbing.
And of course, the elephant remembers, because why? An elephant never forgets.
Exactly. Exactly. And then some person gets at him like, what are you doing to the elephant? And he goes, Dick remembers who this person is, but he has to prove it to them by doing a little Grayson flip real quick over his shoulders. And they realize, oh my God, it's you. It's been years. I haven't seen that flip done since your parents were around this. And they take him through the circus, and they see a drunk clown. And so this is the part where I think we're just going to breeze through.
I think this whole portion is kind of a breeze through until you get to the guy who reveals himself to watching them, because it's basically about a circus, somebody internal trying to mess it up for it can be bought at a cheaper price. No.
Yeah, that's actually perfect.
Yeah.
You nailed it.
Yeah, that and just tying it into what, like, the person watching them, and they have something in common with, or something like to link, like put a bridge and a link in between Dick and the person watching.
Yeah, that happens in the next chapter though.
Yeah,
but this is so. I mean, at this point, the circus is being sabotaged by an internal person for they can sell for a cheaper price. Dick's there trying to help him out. Dick realizes, solves the crime because he's such a great detective under Batman, and then we get to the point where the person reveals himself.
Yeah. So there's a whole event in there where like the one of the lions, was it a lion or a tiger?
Lioness.
A lioness. A
Yeah.
lioness gets loose, or not loose, but starts attacking people.
Hmm.
And so one of the clowns, bursts into action, and the person watching and who's been looking for Dick notices that that's who Dick is, because they do like a little trapeze, little stunt with a net, and then is able to jump on top of the lioness and get her down. And I think on the next page, 188, is when we finally do see the face of Tim Drake,
Hmm.
who is, not really said, but we know is revealed to have been watching him this whole time.
Looking like Ralph Macchio from Karate Kid
I
1.
know, right?
Yeah. So basically, Tim decides to help out. Well, not decides. He's going to help out with Dick and figure out what's going on with this whole circus fiasco. Basically, they're pinning a lot of the problems at the circus on one of the drunk clowns. One of the drunk clowns that we see earlier, who's like been having a rough time, and he's been sticking around the circus for a while. Circus isn't doing well, so he's just becoming a drunk. And someone was there because I think they poisoned the lioness, right? So that
Yeah.
the lioness would start like being aggressive.
Hmm.
It was drunk. They think that the clown gave her the alcohol, and they know that that's not the case. Tim thinks that's the case. He sees this one layer of the mystery, and he's like, "That's who it is. We need to stop this from happening." But Dick doesn't believe that quite yet. So, the person who did do that to the lioness is going to go tie up those loose ends. Going to go murder that drunk clown, but it's not just any drunk clown. It's Dick Grayson in clown makeup. And he fights back, and then he reveals to the circus what's going on. And then we finally get to why Tim is even here. He's like, "Thanks for helping me out, kid. What's up? Who are you?" He goes, "That doesn't matter now. Look at this, please." And he shows him his collection of images of Batman being reckless around Gotham. We specifically see the pictures that he took earlier in this volume, and he goes, "Batman needs you. He's not been the same since Jason died, and Dick doesn't really question yet. Like, how do you know everything? Like, how do you know who Jason was?" He's like, "Don't worry about it. Like, Batman needs you. You need to go back to Gotham now." And then we pick up with Batman, and I think the internal monologue is really cool here. He goes, "I see you, old friend, hiding there in the cold, dark night. Wherever you go, I'll be with you. You can't escape me, and perhaps I can't escape you. We're inextricably linked, and that's just the way I like it." And then we pick up with Batman 441.
Well, before that, you want to show the little coin flipping in the corner.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, that's to me that was like great detail.
Mm-hmm. And I talked to my dad about this yesterday. I think this next issue is my favorite issue. This entire thing, and I want to see what you guys think about it. It's Lonely Place of Dying, Chapter 3, Parallel Lines from Batman 441. And in this issue, we get. Well, I'm gonna skip most of the exposition between Dick and Tim, because it's mainly just them. It's mainly the writers catching us up as readers as what the situation is with all the Robins and their relationship with Batman and what's been going on, and Jason dying and such. But the real breakout thing in this issue is the duality between Harvey and Batman. And we see that straight from page 1, where Harvey's talking to himself about Batman, and at the same time, Batman's talking to himself about Harvey, and they're trying to think about what the other is doing. So we see, if I want to murder the Batman, I've got to lure him to me. But how? What can I steal? What clues can I leave that are both obvious and yet subtle? After all these years, it never gets any easier. And then we switch to Batman. Harvey is out there somewhere. He knows what he knows what he's planning, knows what he wants. While I can only guess, if I can't find him, what can I do to make him find me? and it goes into a series of back and forths between the two. So one page is about Harvey, the next page is about Batman, and I think it's really cool that Harvey's thinking about stuff like what can I do? What can I do that the Batman would come and find me and he knows that it's me? He goes, there's a charity performance of the comedy errors to consider. And he goes, 2 sets of twin brothers. And the proceeds are going to 2 different charities. Cliched. I've got to be original or he'll be suspicious.
This is overthinking at its best.
Yeah, he goes.
If you ever want a definition for overthinking in the dictionary, they should put these pages in there.
No, but I like
Yeah.
the whole thing. I like about like the cover of this chapter and then the next page. Because you got Batman and Two-Face, their heads side to side, but then
Mhm.
how you said in the scenes, like one's talking about to themselves what the other one thinking about what the other one's like planning or thinking right now.
Mhm.
I like how that tied in pretty well.
Yeah. I like that for like we didn't get to see a lot of the Joker's planning for what he was doing in the Middle East in in Death in the Family, but we're definitely seeing what Harvey Dent's thought process is in this
Yeah.
issue. And I love it. He goes, let's see, 2 twins, duo, duet. Do any of them spark an idea? Which would he respond to? And then he even says, he goes, the problem is he's brilliant. I need inspiration, something deadly, something worthy. And then when we go over to Batman's side, he's also thinking about these things that Harvey's thinking about, which is really cool because he's in the headspace of his enemy who he's hunting, his prey. You could say. We turn the page and they're both on a rooftop, and it looks like they're on a rooftop, like maybe a block away from each other. And they're both like, of course, Batman, tomorrow will be your last day of your life. And then
Well, no, if you
Batman
look,
goes,
hold on, Vic. If you look at it, it's almost a reflection. So it's like one's on one side of the city and one's on the other side of the city. Because if you look at some of the buildings,
Oh yeah.
they're on opposite sides. So it's like Joker, Two-Face is on the east side and Batman's on the west side type
Yeah.
of thing.
that's
So, you know,
cool.
but anyway, sorry, I noticed that.
Yeah, because the way Gotham is, it's kind of like it's like levels. And if you look at Harvey's side, it rises to the left, and on Batman's side, it rises to the right.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were to flip them, they would probably be like across the street or like a ways away from each other.
Yeah, one's on one side of downtown, one's on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I just noticed it.
No, that was a good detail. So we pick up with Bruce and not Bruce, Dick and Tim at Wayne Manor, and they're getting all the exposition. They're telling each other how Tim knows Dick and how Dick knows Tim. They've met before. Actually, the night of Dick Grayson's parents' murders, Tim was there with his parents, who are also like who are pretty prominent like socialites in Gotham apparently. And they have a picture. The last picture of Dick Grayson and his parents alive has Tim Drake in it, and he remembers that night very fondly actually. And then we cut over to Two-Face. We cut over to Batman and Two-Face, and it looks like there's a separate crime going on that's ruining Harvey's night, right?
No, what I understood from this part is that Batman had set up his what do you call it,
The charity event.
he set up he set up
Yeah.
the card
Yeah.
he set up the card game for the 22 million.
Yeah,
to
his
try-
bait.
his bait, that's the word, I'm sorry. He
Yeah.
set up his bait, but Harvey has set up his bait on the other side. So
Yeah.
you go back to that picture of being different sides of the city. They were on different sides of everything because they overthought it so much. They actually set up 2 different baits, and neither one fell for each other until the middle.
Yep.
So what happens is that they're sitting there talking about it, and then in the middle of it all, and Vic, you can get more detail on it. Batman's like, Two-Face kidnapped 2 twins, and he's like, I should go because
they're both playing chicken with each other.
yeah. But the thing is, the bait was so tempting to both of them that their original plans were kind of like, should I leave my original plan and go to the bait, go to this other thing? Because I like Batman, I can't leave 2 kids in danger.
Yeah.
and Two
Harvey's
Face
like 22 million. I
2 million.
can't leave that.
Yeah, so they're
Hmm.
both. So that's why I was saying you put this in the definition of overthinking. They overthought it so much that they actually came up with two great plans that enticed each other in the middle of the plan.
Yeah.
It's funny because it feels like, I know that Harvey's Two-Face, but it also feels like he's only doing this little bit with the two for Batman.
Oh yeah. So I mean, yeah,
Yep.
I never noticed that about him, but he talked about it in this section a lot about how he needed two, 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 two.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
It was part of his whole persona, and then like to decide also, like hence the whole like the coin flipping
Mm-hmm.
and whatnot. Like he was very strong in that. Like I guess that was like his code to
and
like
Two choices.
and
yeah.
real quick, Vic, I know we're going on time wise, but just to mention on the back with Tim Drake explains everything.
Mm-hmm.
To me, the writer and Tim Drake, I mean, the way they wrote this,
Mm-hmm.
they basically put out there what everybody else in the whole world of Earth has always thought of. How come nobody has put two and two together to know that Bruce Wayne is Batman and
Exactly.
Robin is the
Yeah.
so the writer was just kind of like almost like we're gonna make fun of ourselves here, and we're gonna write that
Yeah.
Tim Drake put all this together, and it's all the same shit everybody has been saying for over 50 years. You
Uh-huh.
know, Batman was there that night. Batman took Bruce Wayne adopted this boy because his parents died. All of a
Mm-hmm.
sudden, now Batman 6 months later has a Robin with him. You know,
Mm-hmm.
Robin. And then I mean, everything that we have all said over our whole lifetime, it's like the writers put that in Tim Drake's dialogue here,
Right. And
and
some
kind
little
of yeah, kind of like making fun of ourselves here. How come nobody else put this shit together?
right.
It's detectives. You know,
Yep.
you read Batman to become a detective because you like how he finds everything out, but nobody has ever put together why Bruce Wayne adopted a kid, and all of a sudden he has a Robin now. You know,
Yeah.
so I just thought it was hilarious on that part.
Hell yeah. Um. So yeah, basically that's what we're picking up with Dick and Tim. At the same time, both Batman and Harvey are at their respective locations waiting for each other, trying to decide if they should go to the other location. Um.
And then Batman takes off, doesn't he?
Yeah. So Harvey's like 22 million. I can't pass that out. I
Yeah.
can't pass that up. He goes. He's not even interested in the two hostages he has anymore.
Nope. It's like the
So
money.
Batman's like the two people, the two kids, the Wright twins. I need to go. So they both leave their locations because
Nice,
Batman can't leave two people. He
nice,
he can leave something. He can leave the card game to get robbed, but he can't leave two hostages.
nice illustration of the Batmobile, by the way,
Oh,
Yeah.
in the next page.
on 215.
Oh yeah,
And it
yeah,
says
that's
that,
nice.
and at the end where it says "Not bad, Harvey." Two clues for the price of one. I mean that whole little picture there's cool. He kind of looks like a old Roadrunner, Gabe,
Yeah.
Mm.
The
with
front of it.
yeah, the front of it, right?
Yep.
And oh yeah, we see also how Tim realized that Dick was Robin, and it's that he was watching the news and they posted I guess they put some security cam footage of the Batman and the Robin taking down the Penguin, and specifically Dick does a was it a triple somersault, quadruple somersault,
Yeah, the only
and
he could
he's
do.
like, yeah, he's like that only Dick Grayson can do. This is something I watched him do, and I think it's really cool how he gets into how they get into it, how obsessive Tim Drake is about this, because he's good because he remembers it from that night. He remembers the Flying Graysons doing that move because it's a family move. There's a lot of things that Dick Grayson does in his performances as Robin that he did in his performances with the Haley Circus, and one of them is this quadruple somersault, and he goes, I I think it's kind of fucked up how he says it to Dick, where he goes, I every night I dreamed about it. I dreamed about your parents dying in front of me, and I couldn't get it out of my head. And he goes, it wasn't until I saw Batman and Robin on the news and I saw the quadruple somersault, and I was like, I've seen that before. I've seen it every time I close my eyes because I keep seeing, that tragedy happen. He goes, I knew it was you. I knew it was you, and because of what I saw that night, I put it together that you know Batman was Batman was Bruce Wayne. And then as the years went by, and I saw that the Robin was getting older, and then all of a sudden he got younger, I figured he got a new one. And I had also seen on the news that Batman had adopted a new ward, Jason Todd, and then the ward went missing, and so I know that Robin's dead. And I know that this is going on with Batman. He's getting aggressive. He's getting sloppy. He like Tim has laid this all out. He is completely like exposed the hell out of the Wayne family, and we're very lucky that Tim is like, I don't know, not a dick, pun intended.
Right.
Like he wants he just wants Batman to have a Robin again, and he doesn't even push it like to be himself, which is I think really cool. He's basically just asking Dick to go back to Robin, which at
Yeah,
this point, he's Nightwing.
yeah, because they get to a point. I mean, if we go through the part where Batman's there trying to save the twins,
Mm-hmm.
they got the grenades, and then
Yep.
you got Two-Face over there at the taking the money, and he's like, "This is too easy. Like something's
Yeah.
wrong here." And then like you go through all that, and then the part I didn't quite understand is he got it.
Yep.
He's pretty much got away with everything, and then he
Mm-hmm.
says, he's got to flip the coin anyways.
Yep.
Which apparently we find out that the coin didn't land in his favor, so he left the
Nope.
money.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
But when you get down to the Batcave part, you got Tim Drake as a fanboy
Uh-huh.
going through the whole thing, and then he wants the Dick to become Robin again. He's like telling him like, I need you to become Robin, which is the funniest scene because he goes from like looking in the mirror, and then all of a sudden you got Dick Grayson as Nightwing, like with the clothes on the ground. Like he turned around, he was Dick Grayson. He turned back around, and you got Nightwing.
Yeah, he's looking in the reflection and he sees himself in this costume, and then like within a moment, like probably within a second, he's like, nah. And he takes off his clothes and he's been wearing the Nightwing costume this whole
Yep.
time. Where did that color go, guys?
Exactly. I was thinking the same thing.
Exactly. Actually, in a little tidbit, doing some research also after reading this. So apparently, this version of Nightwing is called Disco Dick, which I thought is hilarious
That's funny.
because you see it too, like the big old collar, and it looks like I can hear
You,
some 70s disco music
you
going
know
on.
what's crazy is that this is 10 years after disco.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is
Well,
a little bit like removed.
and you got the part on there too where it's like it says no, no, not Nightwing, Dick. Don't you understand? Batman needs Robin. Doesn't anyone understand? Perhaps young man, perhaps Master Dick understands profoundly. I mean, this kid is still pushing that they go back as Robin. I mean, he
Yep.
really wants the whole Robin. And not to jump off your thing there, Gabe, but yeah, he does look like a disco guy. But as we go through it, I mean, you see how this kid, Ralph Macchio here, is pushing the fact that he just wants Robin to go back. He's not one point did he say, you know what, let me throw the costume on.
Yep. No,
You know,
he's
now that we're like 20 years later, 30 years later, we know that Tim Drake becomes Robin, right? But
Arguably one of the best.
yeah.
if you're reading this for the first time in 1988, 1989, you're like, okay, what is this? What's this kid got going? What's he trying to do?
Yeah, and
Uh,
why does he look like Jason and Dick?
yeah, put together. But it's kind of, I guess we lose a little bit of the shock and the adventures of reading this because we're reading it 30 years later. But can you imagine 1988 reading this and seeing this kid and like, who is this kid? What's he doing? What's going on? And why isn't he forcing the fact that, hey, I can be Robin? I mean, if I was Tim Drake, I'm like, hey, does the costume fit? I mean, I'm
Mhm.
a kid. I'm a kid. What's going on?
Yeah.
So I mean, I, I,
Is
it's
retiring?
that's the thought that crossed my mind as I'm
Yeah.
reading this, is saying that we did not get to enjoy the true impact of reading this. And I'll get to that at the end about how much I love this portion actually better than the first one.
Mhm.
But we didn't get to enjoy the whole steps as it took
Mhm.
to get to the end of this because we already know that Tim Drake becomes the third Robin.
Mhm.
So we didn't get to see all that had to happen. But we get to the part where Batman's sitting on his favorite gargoyle there. Um, he's got some issue with the gargoyle, and he's there, and then you got on Two Face. You got what they call that, the parallel thing again, Vic? Or you got the
Uh,
two.
the I would just say the dichotomy between the two.
Yeah, because you got them going back and forth.
The parallel between the two.
Yeah, because you got Batman and then you got Two Face, Batman, Two Face, and they're going back
Mhm.
and forth. And you got Two Face with another radio ready to break it. And
Yeah, he lifts it up on that final panel.
and they're both mad because they both pretty much overthink each other, right? I mean,
Yeah.
they both got food, and one ended up with no money, and the other one just ended up not catching them, and so they
And
showed them both angry.
Mhm. And I love that it's Harvey's own fault why he didn't get the 22 million. And he's upset with it too because he's like, if you didn't have this stupid shtick, you would have 22 million. But here we are, Harvey. Like we went through all that and nothing.
Yeah. So and then we jump back to the New Titans, right?
Yeah, and we jump back to the New Titans, Lonely Place of Dying Part 4, Going Home, and it's basically just him pleading with Dick, please put on the costume, please. And Dick's like, no, bro, I'm my own guy. I'm doing this on my own. I'm gonna go check on Bruce myself. At this point, of the team of what Batman, Robin. I
Well, at
guess
that
he.
point, yeah, they would say, well, Tim says it with Alfred, and he's all upset. Even has tears in his eyes,
Mhm.
because he won't take it on. But the Teen Titans are still looking for Dick, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the Titans were doing this whole time. they were
Uh,
thinking, they were thinking
Honestly,
about where Dick was, and then when we catch back up with them, they haven't left Titans Tower.
yeah, it's kind of like I'm looking for him, but I'm really not.
Right.
But
Yeah,
the only reason the Titans is in this this graphic novel is because they had to use that for Dick, right?
Yeah, for
yeah.
Nightwing.
That's where Dick was at this moment. He was at the Titans.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they're. I mean, for being some superheroes, they can't find one person.
Yeah, they get a lead on him, and so I guess they go meet up with Cyborg. It's Troya and Starfire, and I guess they're realizing that.
Apparently, they got a classroom with them or something. I didn't understand that part.
Yeah, rereading this, the Titan shit doesn't follow. Like
That's what I'm saying. I think they
Raven,
just used it.
yeah,
They-
Raven appears when Dick is talking to Jim Gordon, I think, and they're trying
Yeah.
to like figure out
yeah,
what's going on with the Batman.
yeah.
Uh,
And she steps away. She's this there. She says that Jericho gave him a chip because the microcomputer that he found when he went in his body or something.
mhm.
And it's a microchip that he only Nightwing can play on his microcomputer. So all the
Nice.
technology back at the Titan Towers, they can't play this microchip.
No.
It's only the thing on Nightwing's wrist that can play it. And then obviously it's a hint from Batman to Dick saying help. That's what I
Yeah,
got out of it. He was saying help without saying help.
yeah, it's like a dog whistle that only Dick would have like heard
Yeah.
essentially.
So he finally gets like basically the thumbs up, and he tells Raven like stay out of it, and Raven was not agreeing to it, but she said okay, I'll do it. What's she saying?
Uh, He says, this is between Batman and me. And she goes, and I believed my problems were between Trigon and me, but you showed me otherwise. However, we will honor your wishes if that is what you truly desire.
And they're
And then
gone.
she leaves.
And they're gone. And they're out for
Mhm.
the rest of the Titans are
And
gone for the rest of the book.
and to throw a little tidbit also about Jericho, isn't that Deathstroke's son? Or,
Yep. That's one of his sons.
yeah.
I think it's his youngest son,
Okay.
which is his middle child. Yeah. Jericho's death. And for the people who don't know, also Jericho's power is that he can look into your eyes and then like basically take over your body for a bit.
So yeah, I didn't know that when they said Jericho, he said that kind of was lost there, but I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah, that's how I bring up that he's deaf too because they talk to Jericho in sign language, which I think is really cool.
Yeah.
And they draw it out too. I've only ever seen this ever done in a comic before, in Hawkeye 2013 by Matt Fraction, which is something I think maybe we're gonna read next for the book club, because it's a really good story. And they do this also in that book, and it's very cool when they do it. So yeah, we hop over back to when Raven left. We get Dick calling Wayne Manor, and he's letting Alfred know what's going on and where he's gonna be, and where, you know, if basically if they need to pick up Bruce in a stretcher, where to come get him. And that's when I think Alfred is telling Tim, like, you know, he does need a Robin, and you're right. You know, he goes, Alfred, I really care about them. I really do. Alfred goes, I'm certain you do. And no, they were far more like father and son than rivals. I've long felt that Master Dick moved to New York. Master Bruce took on Jason Todd, not only to replace his partner, but his surrogate son as well. His armchair psychology at best. It's armchair psychology at best, but as much as he would probably deny, I believe Master Bruce is almost as obsessive about family as he is about preventing crime. Which is also, I think, a really good point that I've never really thought of. For someone who's been alone for so long, he's obsessed with surrounding himself with family.
So here actually gave Batman's already at the well, Batman and Robin meet up actually because Batman's at the spot.
Yep.
So Robin's there. I'm excuse me, not Robin. Let me get it right. It's Dick Grayson, Nightwing is there, and he says, you know, it basically took you long enough to get here, and he says, you know, they talk about asking for help, and he says, I'm here anytime. Batman finally uses, you know, and it's kind of odd because Batman says, I could use your help. You know, how often you get Batman saying that, huh?
Exactly. Because I think he also knows that, like, hey, you know, he's been getting his butt handed to him also, and just
And he
seeing,
has.
seeing Nightwing probably just,
Well, I think he's always had that soft spot for Dick, right? I mean,
yeah. I
Dick
mean,
Grayson. That's it, sorry.
the favorite son, basically,
But the funny part is that he right away jumps into the old Batman with Robin, though. You know,
Yep.
I go through the front, you go through the back, you do what I say, and excuse me, because he's we going together, right? No, we can't permit him to escape route. You take the rear entrance, and I'll take the front. Why not let me take the direct route and throw him for a loop? He knows you're coming, which is why you act as backup. He won't expect it covered. You're not with the Titans now. If you want to be with me, you follow my orders. I mean that right there was kind of like you're not the boss here. I'm the boss.
Yeah,
Uh,
and that Batman's always good for like always asserting his dominance over, like you may not be with me no more, but when you're around me, you're still like, you know,
it's the funny part because like a couple of blocks before that, he's saying I need your help, but now
yeah,
you're here. Let's get the we got the. I'm glad to see you out of the way. Now I'm the boss.
yep,
You know, so Batman he pushes through the window, doing his famous, covering himself up as he breaks through glass. And you get to the part where Robin, see, he can't go on. He can't go in through the. There's no back door. He can't go in through the what do you say, the 2 inches through the back, the window or the old cold chute. But I've gotten too big for that, and even the window is going to be tight squeeze. So he can't go through the cold chute. So he goes through the window, which I think that part is very interesting coming up
yeah,
in a minute. The cold chute. So Batman goes in there and everything's upside down. And literally the whole room is completely upside down.
yep, the
And
furniture. But
furniture has
then, and
go
you
ahead.
see how he says it like this style isn't,
It's not
isn't your
him.
style, or is it like two different forms of logic, two perspectives, kind of the whole
And then he
two.
gets to the coin. It says two faces coin. No, it's a double. It's only has a scare side. What's going on here? So then he's looking for Nightwing, and Nightwing's in downstairs, and he's like, "There's no stairs to go upstairs. You know what's going on?" Like he's lost too because he's on
Hmm.
the basement floor, and they can't figure out why there's no stairs to go to the next floor up.
Yep.
And as they start to think about it, they realize that I'm trying to find that part where they realize, that Nightwing's ready to go back home to think about what's like what happened. Batman's insisting, no, it's not going to happen. That's we need to take care of this now, and they're thinking about it. Uh, it says here it goes. Two Face left enough clues. He had to know they would lead me. They would lead me here, and that coin only adds to the confusion. There isn't Harvey's style yet, and no, he's behind this. Yet I know we know he's behind this. And where's the part about the stairs? I mean, the part about the upside down. I thought it'd be take Batman or one. There it goes. So right here it says there's a slam and it says Batman, Batman, and then he says Robbie, Nightwing. He changed it, Nightwing, and then you see Two Face. I thought it would take Batman a while to figure out my clues. How much better that it took two of you, and then he sees Two Face in the shadows,
Yep.
which is that suit. Come on now.
Yeah. And then I like though that even though Batman was up, in the one floor, and then even though he was in the basement, that's where he was at in the like kind of like the second floor or the second, again,
Yeah,
kind of going in with the whole two theme or
yeah, upside
for him.
down,
Yeah.
two. And he flips the coin, his heads, you lose. Nightwing, and you see Batman running to Nightwing. Two birds with one bomb, and then you hear the bomb, which is, I love the way how Batman always describes his the sound effects, right?
Yeah.
It was a baham or bomb, or I don't know. I don't even know how to pronounce their sound effects, but you see the big letters going across there.
It takes me
And then,
back to the old Adam West show.
yeah, right. And then, so you see, we get to the part with Two Face, and then he's happy because he pretty much got them both underneath the logs there. Here it goes. Set up a mystery. Get them more involved with solving it than worrying about their own safety. And then where they're congratulating themselves on their discovery when they're most involved with the solution. Boom. But it but it isn't over yet until it's Harvey boy. It is Harvey boy. We still got mess to go before we sleep. Miles before we go to sleep. Why do you say we? You're me, my other self. I'm talking to myself again, aren't I? Aren't I? Well, answer me. He's having a literally argument with himself
Yeah.
about arguing with himself. And we get to the last page of this chapter, you see that Alfred is scared now because he's something, they have those detectors on them and they find out that something went wrong. So, you see that Alfred's freaking out. He's run down to the back cave. Tim's just like a little fanboy, like, what's going on? And then he said, Master Richard has turned off his homing signal. And he goes, what's wrong with that? Now we know where he is. He goes, we do, but only because the computer keeps tracking of all incoming signals. And he goes, look, Timothy, the signal was cut off without an in command. The cutoff was a rub. There must have been an accident. What do we do? Just can't just leave them there. Alfred, come on. And then you see the final illustration
Yeah.
is we got to do something, and it's the Robin costume. The original Robin costume, which is we'll see in the next chapter who's going to put it on. So we come to Batman Batman 442. It's chapter 5 of 5. An Only Place to Dying. And as we come in, we see that where we left off on the last panel, it showed the Robin costume. And as we come in here, we got Tim and Alfred. And one thing I was mentioning to Gabe was how he says Tim goes, what do we do? And Alfred says, Master Timothy, we wait here as we always do, patiently. But the funny part to me was that because he said Master Timothy already.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's kind of like I know this is coming. He's gonna become the new kid here. Let me start calling him Master already because they only call Master to the bosses, not to some random kid off the street. So Alfred already knew, but that's where we kind of go off from there to read the last chapter. You want to take it over?
Yeah, sure. So, basically, it's Alfred who gives Tim the talk, right? Essentially, he's like, someone needs to do the job. No, actually, no. It's Tim who's like, maybe someday I can figure out how to do what you do, but right now we know where he and Dick are, and I keep thinking they're in trouble. I've got to do something. He tells Alfred that he doesn't want to do what Alfred does, which is wait around for the two to come back, and tend to their wounds. He's like, nah, Batman needs a Robin. And while I was gone, I'm assuming Harvey blew up Dick and Batman.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So we're seeing that happen in the rubble. Batman's getting up. Two-Face Harvey's flipping a coin.
Yep.
Yeah, I think he's flipping the coin on whether or not he should finish the job. Which is funny because like he's his own downfall in this
Yeah,
book.
he is.
Yeah, he's broke and he doesn't finish the job.
Uh-huh.
You
So
see Nightwing and Batman underneath this rubble here, so
uh-huh.
he's got the upper hand.
Yeah, Batman starts lifting a pillar off of himself, and he's wake up, Dick, I need you. And Harvey hit his mark. I think he hit heads, right, which is the side with the well, they're both heads apparently, according to the Dark Knight movie, but this side of the coin has the X on it, and I guess that means that he's gonna do what he wants to do. The Harvey, the Two-Face side wins. And we cut to Alfred driving Tim to the location, which I didn't expect. I thought Tim was gonna find his own way there, but Alfred's nice enough to give him a ride.
Kind of like taking a teenager to the movies.
Yeah, and he's in the back. He's in the back seat, changing into the Robin costume, and we pick up with Harvey leaving the house, finishing the job, taking the radio with him, which I don't know if this is the third radio or the second radio at this point, because there was a scene earlier where he lifted it up and I was afraid for its life. It looked like he was going to drop it. And he goes, this was a beautiful house. My grandfather began construction on it in 1899 and completed it 20 months later. 2 years work, bridging 2 centuries. And he goes, yeah, everything's so symmetrical, but then I have no choice. The rules must be followed to the rules must be followed. To refuse invites the destruction of everything I hold dear. And he blows up the house. And in the rubble, and I like how this is mirroring a lot of Jason's death. I don't know if you guys noticed that.
Yeah.
Batman and Dick are inside the house, inside the place with the bomb this time. Harvey's the one with the trigger, not the Joker. And the one to arrive is Tim instead of Batman or Dick. And Tim gets one real good lick in. Like, he gets a sucker punch on Harvey.
Bam.
He goes, I was wondering when the brat would show his little cherubic face. You've been hiding for months now. And this is where the facade keeps going, right? Robin was gone for a while, but not long enough that anyone would realize that, it's a different kid.
Yep.
And this is the thing that keeps Batman on top, I think. His villains will never know that there's 3 different Robins.
Yeah, because the part that was important there, Victor, is that Two-Face says there were rumors about you, that you had bought the farm, but I knew better. If you were to die, I'd be your killer. So everybody wants to kill either Batman or Robin. So they want to be the killers. Unfortunately, Joker was the one that did it, but I mean, everybody wants it. Just as I am the one who finally murdered Batman. And you see
Alfred the crowbar.
Yeah, and you see Alfred's face there.
Yeah,
and then Alfred, as he goes to hit Tim there, Alfred comes in, puts the half Nelson on him. And then I think they hit him with a brick or something. Yeah, hits him with a brick, right?
He grabs a brick to
to stop the crowbar.
Yeah, but also you notice the symbolism of the piece of rebarb or whatever, metal from what it's kind of representing also.
Like, what it?
Well, when Two-Face grabs that piece of metal, from the rubble and stuff like that, and then
like the Joker.
Yeah, that's what at least I got from it. Like it was a nod of that, Like
and one
Robin.
thing. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, Robin's gonna die again by getting a beat down.
And one thing that I want to point out too is that I think Harvey's. This is Tim's first time in the costume. He
Hmm.
doesn't have the confidence that maybe Jason had or Dick had when they first put on the costume. But he goes, live as ever, but there's something different about you. Where's the quips, kid? You're always spouting those awful jokes. Lose your sense of humor. And Tim is fighting for his life. Like we said, he grabs a brick and he's barely able to stop Harvey from like hitting him with the brick. So then Alfred gets him in a half Nelson. Tim is able, as Harvey is elbowing Alfred off of him, Tim is able to get one last punch into Harvey, knocking him to the floor seemingly. And while checking on Alfred, they realize that they're under the rubble, Batman and Dick, and there's no time to worry about Harvey or anything else. And at that time, as villains do, Harvey sneaks away.
And right there, Vic, real quick, is we talked about in the last chapter was that when they got to the house, they wanted him to go to the back. There was no back door, so he mentioned how there was only a cold chute and a window, and the cold chute he was not going to fit through there because he was too big already, and the window was because then he barely fit through that. So then you get to here now, and he says,
It's just perfect for Tim.
yeah,
Hmm.
it's just perfect. Where's it? It's some sort of boarded up window or something. It's a cold chute. Years ago, furnaces were heated by cold. Trucks down. They explain what a cold chute is,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the way in that Tim takes.
Mm.
So it's kind of like Dick started too big to be going through
Yep.
the window. I mean the cold chute, but hey, we got the perfect kid to go through it now. Kind of like
Oh yeah,
I'm the kid now.
nice. And we see, as Tim gets in there, I think he's able to locate where Batman and Nightwing are, and he starts using incredible leg strength, I might add.
Right.
This dude's leg muscles are insane. He's starting to push off some rocks to get some of the rubble clear so that Batman and Nightwing can get out. And they're like, "Who are you?" He goes, "Don't worry about me. Just for now, just call me Robin." And I can just imagine maybe, a little oxygen deprived. Like Bruce is probably not in the best mental state hearing that.
Yeah.
He takes the mask off him.
Yeah, he does. He goes, "I don't know who you are, but you're not Robin. There is no more Robin." And then, Tim's like, "I only wanted to help. Listen, please." And he goes, "I know, which I think is a bad move. Tim trying to, it almost sounds like blackmail at
Yeah.
first. He goes, "I know you're Batman. I know you're Bruce Wayne. I know Dick Grayson's Nightwing. And I know what happened to Jason Todd." And that stops Batman. He goes, "Okay, I guess I have to deal with you." Um, they get out, and Alfred's like, "You know what? Tim was able to get you guys. And he's actually pretty good at this whole thing. He was able to stop Two-Face." And then Dick's like, "Yeah, and his instincts for detective work is really great too." Batman's like, "What are you trying to do? One boy died wearing that costume. I'm not taking that risk a third time." And then Tim goes, I never thought of becoming Robin, but with you training me, I can do it. Batman has to have a Robin." Batman's like, "What? Who's the boss of that?" He's like, "There's no need for a Robin." And then Alfred chimes in, "Then there is a need for Batman." Like, it
Mhm.
you
He's
gotta
been
have
wanting
that
to
kind of,
retire for years.
yeah. He goes, "Batman, it's hard for me to say this, but ever since Jason died, everyone's noticed that you've changed." And he gives him that lowdown. That he gives him that little the thing that Alfred was too afraid to say, I think,
Hmm.
earlier.
Yep.
When he was patching him up, he was Alfred was thinking it, and he felt too uncomfortable to tell Bruce it. And then, Dick, his first son, is estranged from him. So he, hasn't had the ability to go and talk to him about Jason's death. So here's this stranger, this kid who saved Bruce's life, and now he's like, "Yeah, dude, like you've been going down a path ever since Jason died, and we need to, get you out of it." He goes, "How many times have you been hurt these past months?" He's like, "I don't remember ever seeing you hurt, ever." And that's where I think we get that little panel where Dick is looking at Alfred like, "It's working. Like, don't worry, he's coming around."
Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, And Tim convinces him. He goes, "Look, like I think I can be Robin. It's not something I wanted to do, but it's something that I need to do, which is like what being a hero is about." He goes, and Batman needs Robin no matter what he thinks he wants. And Alfred and Dick are like, "Yep, like they're gonna be perfect together. They have that dichotomy, that little duo like personality that they need to have." And Batman's like, "What I do is dangerous." Tim's like, "I know, and that's exactly why you need me." Batman's like, "I've got no interest in discussing this. Not while Harvey's still free. We tracked him here to his home. I don't know where he's gone to. Dick, I know how we can find him. I slipped a tracking disc on him while we were fighting, and we just have to follow his signal." And Bruce is like, "All right, okay, bet. Get in the fucking car, I guess. You have the only thing that we can use to find him, so we're going." And they track down Harvey to the Gemini automobile, basically a
The
like dump,
scrapyard.
scrapyard. They get there, and Harvey's plan is to crush them, I guess, with a tractor. Doesn't work out. They're able to get out of the car that he was trying to crush.
It was the Batmobile.
Yeah, it was the Batmobile.
Yeah, because he told Tim to stay there, and he came in. It was that he crushed him with the wrecking ball.
Yeah.
The wrecking ball, and he said, "There goes another." He basically thought he killed another kid.
Yeah.
And then Tim comes out, and he said that he seen it coming, and he got out the way.
Mhm.
So like, just basically another. Yeah, and then you see the three of them running towards her to get the Two-Face, and that's when he's sitting in the little tractor trying to wait for them. Yeah. And then they jump in, they get them. The three of them, and then you see the one that says, "Batman, what do we do?" So Tim's like, "Hey, you're the boss. Like, what do we do here?" And then Batman says, "Back off, get out the way." And then let's go through the whole wrecking ball, the fighting stuff there, which is I think was probably, like I said, I was very excited in reading all this whole thing. It's kind of like watching the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then it goes Two-Face with his fucking coin again.
Yeah, he gets a good hit on Dick, and he's like, I think he's trying to decide if he's gonna finish him with another hit.
And then Batman catches it.
Yeah, he catches it and stops his, and basically takes his fate away from him.
Yeah, but look what Batman says though. He says, "No, Harvey, it's your mistake. Like through this whole book, you've been making your mistakes with the damn coin."
Mm-hmm. I just noticed how cool that is. The parallel, it starts with Harvey flipping the coin, and then like 3 panels down, it's Batman catching the coin.
Yep,
it's pretty cool.
So then they basically capture him.
Mm-hmm. And he goes, "Don't you know you can't kill Batman and Nightwing?" And then Tim or Robin.
You imagine the little squeaky voice,
right? Which had a very like 60s Leave It Beaver type feel, like that whole thing with Robin, even like, like telling him how he, needed him, or like when he just pops up like, "I'm okay,"
he's very like 60s written, like coded,
Yeah.
So we pick up back at the mansion where they're all decompressing after this, and it's basically just Bruce coming to terms with someone was able to find out something that no one in Gotham was able to find out up to this point, apparently. And he goes, he basically gives the lowdown to Tim where he goes, "I created Batman as a symbol of fear to use, to strike fear into the criminals of Gotham on my at the time one-man war, and then as time went on, it became more involved with other people. His first soldier was Dick, second soldier was Jason. Now, at the end of this, Tim tells Bruce, he goes, I can take care of myself, but I'm going to earn your trust, and I will eventually be that soldier you need me to be, essentially. And then I don't remember these last panels, but is it the radio that was talking to Harvey was actually the Joker this whole time?
Well, that's what I said. The point thing about the radio was Because now you see Joker there, and he says, and to finish it off, it'll say, "Dent, you're such a fool. You were hiding out safe and sound. Your ridiculous coin told you to give up crime forever, and you would have it if I hadn't found you.
Oh
Oh,
shit.
you knew you could never have killed Bats, but you could keep him busy while I mended from my last encounter with him. It's so good knowing I could control things even from my hospital bed. What a shame he's got a new brat though. Still, easy come, easy go." And then you see the Joker's ha 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 in a hospital
Man.
bed.
I just got chills right now because it like this whole scene right there. Like, remember how we talked in the last episode how like lackluster the ending for Death of the Family was, and
Uh-huh.
like the Joker just. I mean,
He
we
falls
knew
out of
he
the
did.
helicopter.
Yeah, and we knew he. I mean, thought he probably survived but like got away, but then it's like this whole time you're thinking that Harvey is just tripping with his, I mean, and he kind of was, but the Joker was you know
Egging him on.
yeah, while he's recovering from that last battle, and it just, they could have easily just did something where it was like the Joker laughing, but the fact that they made him pulling all the strings and Two Face was the puppet, made it even better.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Like,
great. And that's why I liked it. This is probably one of my favorites.
hmm
Honestly, I like the second part, "Lonely Place Dying," better than "Death in the Family." I
Hmm.
think
yeah,
it was well written. I like the way they went about it. I like the ending. I like the way they put Tim off. Like I said, the only problem I had with this whole book is that we read it 40 years later.
yeah.
But other than that, I thought it was very good. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I did
Gabe,
too.
what was your guys' thoughts, Gabe?
I really enjoyed it. I I love the fact that in this, um, Tim Drake basically was like, normally, like with Dick Grayson and Jason Todd, Batman or Bruce Wayne went to them saying like, I can, let me help you, this and that. Well,
Hmm.
it was the other way around where, Tim Drake went to Batman saying like, you need Robin, and um, he's like pleading his case in a way also once, Alfred lets him know that, it's got to be him to, don the outfit. And it shows also why, like, in one way he's better than Dick and Jason, because he's one hell of a detective if he
Yeah.
figured out all this stuff on his own. I mean, the kid's like really smart, but he's like level headed, and I mean he went on to having like his own other, I think like the next storyline is with like Tim Drake. It's a Joker one too, supposedly really good. But you really get to see like how really good this version of Robin is and whatnot.
Vic, your thoughts?
To piggyback off of Gabe there too. Um, Compared to Jason and Dick, Tim is probably one of the smartest Robins.
Hmm.
Uh, I think lately he's only been a little bit overshadowed by Damien,
Yeah,
because Damien is actually smart as well as a great fighter. He's basically all three of them combined. But before Damien, Tim was that guy.
yeah,
Tim also is the Robin that got his first solo series.
yeah,
So
yeah,
Dick never had a solo series. Jason never had a solo series, but they gave Tim one, and it's one of the most successful books DC was ever publishing in the 90s.
yeah,
Who
Uh,
does Tim become?
Tim becomes Red Robin for a time, but they don't really. He's just Robin again now. So like Nightwing has been Nightwing since the 80s, right?
Mhm.
Jason has been Red Hood since they brought him back to life. The thing about Tim is that DC knows that he was very marketable and everyone loved him when he was young and when he was Robin, for the Batman. But the thing is, he eventually aged out and it was actually a problem because it's like, well, he's getting older and he's hanging out with his own Titans. And I think Final Crisis, one of those events, Batman gets killed, in quotations. Batman gets killed, Bruce Wayne, Dick Grayson becomes Batman, and Tim Drake is the only person that doesn't accept that Bruce is dead. So he goes on a journey as Red Robin, and he goes around the world looking for Bruce. He's the only one that doesn't give up on Bruce, which I think is also really like cool because we get to see that here.
Mhm.
That Tim doesn't want to give up on Bruce. He doesn't want to give up on the Batman. And he knows that the Batman needs his help. People will say that Dick is the one that was the first, and he's arguably one of the best. Right? The best. Jason was the one that was who got led astray and eventually died because of it. But Tim's the one that is Robin through and through. He's so much Robin that when he was Red Robin, people, didn't really like it. They wanted him to be Robin again. And it's to this day, he's not even Red Robin anymore. There are two Robins.
Mhm.
Both him and Damian are operating as Robin, and they alternate every now and then. But as far as this book goes, yeah, I agree with you, Dad. I think this second half of the collected volume is a lot better than the first. I think it was very impactful seeing Jason die, but it felt more rewarding for us to read the after effect of Jason dying and seeing how the world sees Batman after that and how dark he's getting and how reckless he is and how much he needs the Robin.
Even with the useless panels of the Titans.
Yeah. The Titans. That rereading this as we were recording this today, I was like, holy shit, they did nothing.
You're right. It was just
But
filler.
I will tell you
Filler.
this: the only thing they did for me in this book, it made me want to go back and just finish off the Titan series that I never finished.
Oh, the TV show?
Yeah, honestly, it kind of gave me that little spark
Oh,
to
yeah.
go back and finish it. So that's what it did.
And if you actually like going to that, like, because a lot of people were upset about the casting of Corey, or
Oh, yeah.
Starfire for the show. But if you look at this story, she's very accurate to the,
Yeah,
Mhm.
curly hair. Or
Yeah.
he's orange in this comic, but
Yeah.
also like if someone can be orange in a comic book, I think someone can be black in the adaptation.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's dope. I get tired of that shit. Excuse
Yeah.
me. I get tired when they start talking about that. But all right, guys, this kind of brings us to the end. As always, we always go over our time limit. Just so everybody knows, I always try to put Vic and Gabe on a time limit because if I gave them the free time, they would go for 3 to 4 hours.
Oh, yeah.
The swirling
so-
vortex of fandom and geekness is
So-
going on.
I always got to be the what they call it the bad man and put them on time limits, but it's for their own good, for they can go out and have lives too. But this was a fun reading. This was a fun recording. Like I said, probably now going to be one of my favorite books. And also one other thing I want to mention, I don't know if you guys want to agree to it. It was easy reading.
Yeah.
It flew the flow was very, very good. And for me, who's not a established comic book reader, it was very easy for me to read through it very quickly. And I literally read through this probably in 2 hours.
Yeah.
And the good thing is I finished it this morning, and like I said, I was kind of all into the ending.
And like
But-
Vic said in the last episode too, this was one of the better stories that for Two-Face as well too in here.
I think this puts a lot of context into what we read in Dark Knight Returns.
Mhm.
Yeah, it does a lot.
Yep.
But so we're gonna call it a show today. But as always, if you want to talk to any of us about comic books, you can reach Gabe at
Gabriel Feliciano on Facebook and on Instagram, Gabe's Picks 22.
And if you ever want to really get into a good conversation, you can reach Victor Jr. at
Victorino_MP4 on Instagram. And then this week, guys, we'll be starting streaming on Wednesday or Thursday. It'll be 4 hours every night after 1 a.m. I know it's like terrible hours, but you'll be able to catch the VODs the next day if you want. I'm just be playing games at twitch.tv/Vic at night. And that's where you can find me.
Sweet.
all right, and you can catch me on Mendez Vic on Instagram, or you can follow our Instagram on that Ryman Reasoning underscore podcast. Once again, we're a little bit late on this episode. It was supposed to come out last Thursday, and we're going to release a RRP episode every 15th of the month, and we're going to release a Rhyme and Reasoning episode every Wednesday. Up to this Wednesday, we're taking our first break in season break at the copy number three. Episode number three, just because of the holiday stuff coming up. And so we're gonna be get back on schedule. We got Nick who's helping us with our social media. He's putting stuff out on TikTok and Instagram
Shout out, Nick.
and YouTube. But so we're gonna try to stick within our schedule of the 15th of every month and Wednesday of every week. It's just because of the holidays. We're gonna skip this week and come back with a Thanksgiving episode of Rhyme and Reasoning right before Thanksgiving. And then we'll be back on the 15th of December, which we're going to be reading Young Avengers, Alan Heinberg's Young Avengers. Gabe, you know that one?
No, it's new territory for me as well, so I think it's gonna be more enjoyable too. So,
Do you guys know who Alan Heinberg is?
no.
I think both know, or you both are very familiar with his work. He's the guy who wrote the OC.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Hey, one of my favorite shows.
In the early 2000s, Marvel hired a bunch of TV writers, and Alan Heinberg was one of them. And his run on the Young Avengers is very, very good.
Well, we look forward to reading that one. So I got to get in. I got to get on Amazon and get that ordered right away, and we'll get it read and get it out to you guys. Once again, please share. Show anybody who wants to talk comic books or get into comic books. Please share our podcast, share our Instagram page, and anybody who just likes talking generations, as we do in Rhyme and Reasoning, is a podcast where we compare generations of X, Millennial, and Generation Z. But until then, we'll see you guys next month on RIP, and we'll see you next week on Rhyme and Reasoning. Take care, guys.
Happy reading.